Hello, 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 everybody. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's right, we are back. As you know, we started our new series, Strength, Strategy, and Mindset, and we are just in our second week. We completed our 100-day walk to consistency and health and did our mini series, right, the bridge to mastery. And so the hope is that after each of these series, we'll do kind of that bridging series, Bridge to Mastery. But I wanted to come on to talk to you about, I don't want to call it a campaign, but I suppose it is a campaign, and it's called the MOVE campaign. One of the questions I had from one of our community members is about the walking that we did and now the strength training that we're doing, strength strategy and mindset. So two components of that series two different series, but I want you to actually think of them as actually the same group of things. And the idea is just moving. Often we don't make time in our lives for moving. In fact, there are many people that spend a lot of their time consuming content. So they watch movies, they use, podcasts, maybe even this video as part of their relaxation, part of the time that they spend decompressing from life, the time that they spend kind of getting away from everything. And that's great because there is something to be said for changing our mindset. In fact, our series is currently called Strength, Strategy, and Mindset, because I totally believe that if we are going to make significant changes in our lives, then we have to have a mindset change. Because the mindset gives us a different way of looking at things. It gives us a different perspective. It helps us to perhaps see things like we've not seen it before. And if we are going to change, if we're going to expand, if we're going to grow, if we're going to be better, then we have to be able to see the world in a truth that sometimes is clouded by our past. And so a part of limitless living is the whole idea of actually doing something better, right? Growing, expanding ourselves so that we are able to look at the world in a different way. Because remember, the way we see the world shapes what we do, how we behave, shapes our decisions, shapes our choices, and ultimately shapes our consistency and our success. So very important. But so we do that, but we don't spend any time in actually moving. And if we are going to be healthy, if we're going to be successful, if we're going to reverse diabetes and improve our metabolism, and we are going to have any chance of making long-term strides and making long-term successful strides, then we have got to move. And the two arms of the MOVE campaign, one is the walking that we did, and two is the strength training that we're currently going through. And so I wanted to come on and just remind us that even though we are not currently in the walking campaign, we're not in that series right now, that walking still is an integral part of what we do for our health. And so I'm out again here. In fact, on Dwain Woode MD Live, we are in the process of walking through the health action plan, which is that list of things that are essential in our health. And one of the components, of course, is walking. So we're talking about that actually this evening on our show. And I went out, got a Fitbit, because I want you to see what these, I want you to be able to track, right? So anything that we're going to do, anything that we're going to improve, anything that we want to change, anything that we're doing for benefit, we're going to be able to track it and to be able to use that to make informed decisions about what we should do, how we should do it, is it beneficial, what things we should tweak. And of course I came out today and just started recording. I didn't, well, I brought my stuff in my car, but I'm wearing some tennis shoes right now that are not necessarily for walking. But that's okay, we're gonna keep going. But yeah, I wanted to come out because we've been on the new series now for, like I said, we're in the second week, and I did not want for us to forget about the walking. Remember, walking, the consistency that we do in our walking is very important. The things that we're doing there are working to strengthen our body. So back to get to the move, back to the move campaign. So the move campaign consists of our walking and our strength training. Those are the two components. And often when I tell people about how we want them to put these together, most of us try to spend about an hour at the gym, 45 minutes maybe. And I tell them that half of it should be in aerobic, that's running, jumping, swimming, right? So walking. And half of it should be in strength training. And so if you're thinking, well, how do I combine these two? How do I combine these two things? That would be a great way of doing it, where you spend 30 minutes in the aerobic, that's the walking part, and then 30 minutes in the strength training. You don't have to do it in that order, but that you are actually combining these two essential components of health into a workable, usable, practical tool that you now are consistent with. Because remember, consistency is our superpower. And even though we've completed that series, we're not just, oh, well, I did that and that's done. No, this is, okay, how do I now begin putting that together? And how do I use this as a viable, workable thing every day? Because often the challenge is really not that we don't have the procedures, we don't have those things, but we don't incorporate them into our lives in a way that is doable, right? Where the rubber meets the road, as it were. And so that would be my recommendation. Someone asked, I started saying, someone in the community asked me about how to combine that, and that would be my thought about how to combine them. Now, the other thing that you could do is, for our strength strategy and mindset, and even as we did the 100-day walk to consistency, we spent about 30 minutes and 35 minutes, on some days it was 45 minutes, doing each of those. So if you wanted, you could alternate days, right? So we want you moving every day. That's right, every day, 7 days a week. We want you moving. And so what you could do is you can alternate days, where one day you do strength training, and then on your off day from strength training, you do walking. That would be certainly a reasonable way to do it. That gives you 3 to 4 days of strength training, and then alternately 3 to 4 days of walking, depending on how you get that set up. Currently, I do, well, actually, some days we actually spend more than an hour working out, because I do work out with my son, as you guys have heard on the strength strategy and mindset. So on those days when I work out with him, I end up spending more than an hour, because I work out with him, and then I have to come back and I have to record the episode for that day. Trying to figure out a way to do it at the same time, but we have father-son conversations, and so I suppose that would be a good series, right? So working out with my son, right? If you want to see that, let me know. I don't know if he's gonna be excited about that, but anyway, yeah. So I end up doing that twice, and then on my lunch break, on the days when I don't have a meeting, or sometimes in the evening, then I'll come back and I'll do walking. Now, I have not been recording that, and perhaps I should, do that so that we can also get some benefits, some teaching from that. But that's how I've been incorporating. So I do that I do both every day. And so recently, like I said, I went out and got a Fitbit because I've just been using the time that I'm walking as my marker of how I'm doing. Yesterday I went out, and after I got the Fitbit, I put it on, and then I went to my favorite grocery store, and I walked around. I said, okay, if I walked in this grocery store, how many steps would I get? And so I went to my local grocery store, and they had 16 aisles, sorry. And once up the aisle and back down the aisle, that was about 90 steps. And it's rounded off, so 100 steps. So 16 aisles. So I would have expected 1,600 steps. And then I did 2 loops around the store that is inside, and looping around the store on the inside twice. Once is 300 steps. So I expected another 600, right? So theoretically, I would have expected 2,000. And so I went and I did it, and I came back and got my feelings hurt, y'all. Right? Because when I looked at it, it only gave me like 1,300 steps. Actually, no, 1,400 steps. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense, right? Because I'm up there, I'm doing it. I think the people thought I was probably crazy because they saw me going around the store over and over and up and down the aisles. But yeah, so it gave me about 1,400 steps. And it was a little bit, I was like, man, so what do I have to do? But what I realized is, as we've been walking, and we've been doing that 30-minute walk, we've been doing some 20-minute miles. And so for a 20-minute mile, and we'll see what it is here today, so I spent about 20 minutes in the store. And I didn't, just walk and stop and look at things. I went in, and for that first time, or the first round around the store, I actually just walked. I didn't pick up my stuff that I went there to get. I did that afterwards. For about a 20-minute mile, it's, about 1,400 steps. Depending on, 1,400 steps for a 20-minute mile. So that if I wanted to up that, if I wanted to increase the number of steps during my walk, right? And we talked about amping it up and pushing it further, pushing it so that you get more benefit. So that would be a case of maybe doing a 15-minute mile, okay? So that I can get those steps in. And so when we're doing steps, there are different categories. I usually divide them into, 5,000 would be kind of like your minimum. And then 8 to 10,000 be your kind of medium. And then your super target would be about 1,500, or 15,000, sorry, I keep saying 1,500, 15,000 steps. And so as you're thinking about, okay, what do I need to do? How much time do I need to put in? Those are our targets. Those are our initial targets, our midway targets, and our ultimate target goals for walking. And it's been shown that in order to get the full benefits, let me drop something here, then we want to have steps over 8,000, right? 8,000 or over. Not that you don't get benefit from the other, because everything that we do, and if you have not done so, tune in and watch our show that we'll be doing as we talk about walking. There are lots of benefits to walking. And so that's why it is an essential part of what we do as we talk about health. We'll see here when I get through how many steps I'm getting as I'm walking around here. And right now I'm walking from the hospital, walking through the neighborhood, as you guys have seen me do in our previous series, just walking through the neighborhoods, and we'll see how much that is. Because, right, I'm always wanting to track. I always want to track. It's important for me to know what is going on in my body, and if I'm going to make some changes, then I want to know that, and then I want you to be able to see that as well. One of my reasons for going through the series and on the show showing my reports and showing my weight and showing my blood sugars and ketones and all of those is that so people begin understanding what's going on in their body. Often we talk about it, we talk about the theory of what's happening, but without seeing it, sometimes it's a little difficult to conceptualize. All right, so enough about that. So back to walking, or back to move. So move is a campaign to push daily movement. Notice I didn't say once a week movement, twice a week movement, I say daily movement. And our goal is to get you up and out. I say up and out, but at least get you up. Now you may be, for some reason, unable to go out because of your neighborhood, because of weather, because of multiple things. But the idea is to move, even within your home, right? So if it's a weather issue, those days when the weather is not as great, that'll be a great time to do your strength training if you're going to do the alternate days. And right now, we want you to move every day. I'm not prescribing yet on those days what you do, but I do want you to walk or strength train. Like I said, I do both. That's my goal always. And sometimes that's a challenge if we are traveling. But even then, there are things that we can do. And if you've been watching our series, there are several exercises. As a matter of fact, part of our warm-up routine has nothing to do with having equipment. It's just me and my body. And so even doing those types of things are very beneficial. For the strength training and mindset, one of the strength moves, which we have called, those are our challenges. One of the strength moves was to design a 2-minute circuit. Of exercises that we've learned and go through those and be able to, at any moment, do them. Whether you are at home waiting for the shower to warm up, you're at a store waiting for somebody else, you're standing in line. There are several things that you can do even in that 2 minutes. So if you can do it for 2 minutes, then we can do it, okay? So even though you may not be able to go out, or you may not have, if you do the dumbbells, if you do the exercise bands, any of those things, you may not have them with you, but you can certainly do something. And in fact, now that I say that, I think one of the things I can do is actually travel with those exercise bands. I can get a 5-pound, 10-pound, 20-pound, 15-pound, and certainly that would give me quite a bit to be able to do on the go. See, I just came up with that right now. Okay, so move. So walking and then strength training, and ultimately, what we are intending to have you do is that you have a plan for your health. You have a plan for your life. Here we're talking about health, of course, but you have a plan. And if you don't plan, then you plan to fail. You got to have a plan. And in that plan, two of the major components fall under the MOVE campaign as we talk about it, okay? The other components are very important, and make sure you get over to our YouTube channel. We are in the process of going through that series. We introduced it just last week, and are spending time now going through each of the pillars of what this entails. I liken this to getting on an airplane. And when I get on the airplane, one of the things that gives me some comfort is the knowledge that the people that are in the cockpit, they've got a checklist and they're going through the checklist. You know, engine, check. Communications, check. Wheels, check. Flaps, check. Landing gear, check. Power, check. Whatever they're checking. I don't know all the things that they check. But I do not want to be sitting in an airplane one day and to have the pilot running right behind me and get into the cockpit, close the door, and get on the speaker and says, okay, we're ready to take off. No, dude, wait. Did you go through the list? Okay? And what strikes me as interesting sometimes is the fact that we have lists for everything. We have procedures at our job, at your house, right? You have procedures for how you wash your clothes. You know, you don't put certain colors with each other. You have procedures for when you go shopping. You know, most people start at the same part of the store every time. You have procedures for getting your kids to school. You have procedures for church. You have procedures for everything. And it strikes me as odd sometimes that we don't have a procedure for our life, and in particular, a procedure for our health. And so this health action plan, which these two things on the Move campaign are a part, this health action plan gives you a blueprint. It gives you guidelines. It gives you a checklist. Okay, what are the things I need to be paying attention to? If I say that I want to be healthy, if I say I'm trying to improve, if I say I'm trying to reverse my diabetes and get better and work in the wellness space, what are the things I need to be doing? Otherwise, it's just up in the air. It's like shotgun approach. And we know that that approach does not work long term. It may get you some benefit right now, maybe another day, number two, maybe even for the next year. But in terms of your long-term success, that's not where it needs to be. And so what are the things that you're going to put in place that will give you long-term success? And that's what that is. And a big component of that is our movement. So on a daily basis, once again, I want you to get up and I want you to begin moving. Now, I'll tell you, as I was thinking about doing this video today, the question that I had in my head was, well, we're in the middle of this other series, the strength, training, and mindset. We're going through the health action plan on the show. So how does this fit? And the place that this fits is just as a reminder. And just as a reminder that we didn't just walk and then end walking. All right, I'm going to pause there because I want you to get that. We didn't just walk and stop walking. When the 100 days was over, the goal was not that, okay, you've done your 100 days and you're done. The goal was to continue to build upon what we had learned and adding the strength training into that process. And so now, right, so you have two options, and there may be others if you think of a different way of doing it. Right, you do half of your time for the day in strength training and half of the time in walking. Or you can alternate days, right? So on your days when you're not lifting, when you're not doing toning and strength training, then you do your walking. So those are two options. There probably are some others that I'm not thinking of right now. So if you have another way that you can do that, go ahead and drop those in the comments. Let us know. Send a message somehow, because I'm sure there's someone else out there who's wondering the same thing. Okay? Now, so let's talk about the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room is that you're thinking to yourself, man, I already don't have enough time, right? And he's talking about doing two things. Well, one of the reasons that we talked about the 2-minute circuit on the strength training and mindset was that anything that takes 2 minutes, there's time for. Yep. Right, so 2 minutes, 2 minutes of strength training, 2 minutes of, right, you do 2 minutes here, you're at work, you go to the restroom, you do 2 minutes, you You go to your car, you walk into your car, do 2 minutes. You're waiting in the mall, do 2 minutes, right? So you can do that throughout the day. And then maybe you structure your walk in such a way that you get your half hour, and then you intersperse your 2 minute circuit around that, or vice versa. You do your strength training if you're at a gym, for example, or even if you're at home. You do your 2 minutes and then you stop, take a pause, during your break, during your cool down time, right? When you take your break between the exercises, you can go for a walk around the house. So my point in this, and some of that may sound silly, but my point in that is that there are so many ways to begin incorporating the things that we do. What my goal is that moving is not a novelty for you, right? Right now, moving is a novelty. Like, we don't do it. And so to even think about where to place it in our day, where to put it in our schedule, seems like a daunting task. But it is not. I should say it is not. We don't want it to be. We want this to be something that is as natural as you getting up in the morning and brushing your teeth. In fact, one of the things we talked about was stacking. You remember? We talked about stacking, where you attach a new behavior to a routine or to a habit you already have. And one of the recommendations was that when you finish brushing your teeth, that you do some squats, or you do some leg raises, or you do, right, something. Another one would be you finish eating and you go for a walk, right? So you're stacking all of those so that they become a normal, automatic process, and it's no longer a novelty. It's no longer something that I've got to think about including. It just becomes natural. Because I can probably count on my fingers the number of times as an adult that you woke up and you left the house without brushing your teeth, right? So something drastic had to have happened to make that occur. And so your movement in your day, your movement on every day should be just like that. That it is just an automatic process, that it is natural, and it is unusual then for you to go through a day without having some movement. That's the hope, that's the goal, that's the place that we want you to be in when it comes to movement. And that's the thrust of the MOVE campaign. It is an integral part of the health assessment, or health action plan, if we're going to be successful. And it has those two arms. It is walking, and we've talked a little bit about some of the targets, and strength training. And the concept here is, and it comes out of strength training, and it applies to all of our lives, every aspect of our life. It is that we grow under tension. We grow under controlled tension. When you're lifting weights, right, it is the tension that causes those muscles to have to grow, causes them to have to stretch. And it is control that targets exactly where I want that tension to be. Because I can grab some weights and I can start swinging them around, but I'm not targeting the muscles that I want. If those muscles if they don't get tension, guess what? They don't change. You can be lifting, but if you're not targeting the right muscles, if you're not putting that tension in the right place, then those muscles don't change. They don't have to change. There's no impetus. There's no reason for them to change. And so in our lives, it's a similar thing. We sometimes will feel tension and think that that's not a space we need to be in. But it is the tension in our lives that forces us to have to think outside the box, that forces us to have to collaborate, that forces us to have to deal with our relationships, that forces us to have to get rest, that forces us to have to walk, that forces us to have to do myriad of things that we would not normally do, except that there was some kind of tension that came. Yeah. Oh, see, I like that. I love that. I love that thought right there, because that one kept. Yeah, it is a fundamental of what we do. And as you're moving through your life, as you move through your health, as you move through actually any aspect of your life, I want you to remember that consistency is key. And it is not that we're doing something just to check the boxes off. And just because we become competent, it doesn't get put on the shelf, right? Efficacy says that the things I'm learning. Limitless living says the things that I'm learning. Our rhythm, alignment, and structure says the things that we're learning. We are learning them to incorporate them into our lives so we can use them on a daily basis. So not just a novelty, not just here and there, not just today and gone tomorrow, but for the rest of my life, I'm trying to be healthy. Oh, yeah, right? So I thank you for hanging out with me. Like I said, I just wanted to come on and kind of remind everybody that this is all a connected process. It's all a connected group of things that we're doing. And so, just as we do in our previous episodes and as we do in our strength training, we can't leave without giving you a challenge and or a strength step for today. And here's your strength step. I want you to pick one of the ways of incorporating both walking and strength training, and I want you to begin doing that today. Okay? Now, today may be that you can't do the full hour, but you have some time, and I want you to get some strength training in, and I want you to get some walking in. And that is what we're going to do for today. As always, thank you for being here. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Woode with an E. The E stands for Endocrinology. I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And we are moving. Remember, limitless living says that we're not allowing anything from outside or from inside to prevent us from doing what we need to do. We are presenting our best self, our best health, and our best plans for our life. I'll see you later as we walk, as we get stronger, as we move each day.